Alright, so let's begin. What are we going to talk about today, Sister Marvet?
So we're talking about affordable housing.
Right.
And even if you're in the city right now, stay for the end because there is something you can do right where you are to get prepared for your shelter.
That is it.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
So, once more, we meet Brother Leon and Sister Marvet, the Thompsons, who definitely helped our family on the journey to country living. So we're going to talk about affordable housing. Now, some people have been saying, boy, I can't come to the country. You know, I don't have the money. It's very windy today, guys. I hope you can hear us well. I don't have the money. And one of the number one things, other than procuring land, of course, is shelter, building their house. So we're going to discuss some of the options that they have. Because I know these two specialize in that. Somebody even messaged me after the video that you put up and said, are these the people that help people to build their house? I heard these are the people. I said, stay tuned because we're going to talk about that soon.
How many buildings have we done there? This one, where we live.
Yes.
Part of the journey has been to help with the family members on their projects. So you're garnering the skills over time, different things, different projects. We've done quite a bit of online stuff related to sharing ideas with persons. For the most part, affordable housing has to do with a mindset. Because a lot of persons want to move to the country, but then you're looking to do a mansion in the country, and that might not make sense.
You might not be able to afford it.
And also, sometimes because of, I used to tease Sister Marvet when we just started that she didn't have much spatial awareness because she could not see the measurement actually for what it is on the ground.
Right.
So one of the things that I always say to persons, look at your furniture. Your bed is very important, and maybe get a tape measure, measure the dimensions, so at least you have an idea as to what the space looks like in reality.
Right.
Then the other thing too is that most persons are only looking on the footprint on the ground and not factoring that the height of the building also affords you additional space.
Right, like storage and
storage,
stuff.
bunks, that kind of thing. I'll give you a joke. We decided that our bed did not afford us the adequate storage underneath it to put like totes and containers and so. So we built a bed base for ourselves. So we made it a little taller. So it took a little adjusting, at the first to get used to it because you literally felt like you had to climb up.
There's a stool. There's a stool.
There's a stool.
You have to climb on.
But it keeps, in other words, it's about adjusting your mind from now as to what the options are. But many of us are so caught into a mold that we dream of, we think of, and it
has to be that.
It has to be that. But you have to think outside of it.
The idea of the dream house. Every woman wants their dream house. Right. I have mine.
Right.
But my dream house is not the conventional house.
What is your dream house, Sister
I
Marvet?
wanted a board house.
You wanted a board house. So why didn't you do a board house?
Because my husband said, no, I can't get that.
Why? Is it because of practicality? What was the issue?
Where we are located. He said board was not the best thing for this type of weather or how that land was set. So the best he could do was to give me a zinc.
Right.
And put board on the inside.
Hybrid.
And then we added on the traditional block and cement, mortar and steel on the inside.
So one of the things too about affordable housing is to work with what you have.
Where you are going.
Exactly. So depending on where you are, you look at the terrain, you look at the profile of the property, the slopes and so on. And for the most part, most times you have a lot of stones. Depending on where you are, at least you want to be looking for stones because the wise man built up on the rock.
Right.
Because it gives you a good anchor, good foundation. And also, if you have a choice between building on a stone and building on a stone, you want to keep the soil for planting, for food.
Right.
So you want to be practical in
build on the stone.
Build on the stone. So look at the layout of the property. That's one. Two, where does the normal wind come from? Where is the rain coming from for the most part?
These are basically things you must consider.
Right. Because most people want to turn their house a particular way to the east and
or
so
to
on.
the road.
Or to the right. So you want to afford yourself the safety of positioning your house in such a way that the shape of the house is actually protecting from the wind and the rain.
But
yes,
you're getting the sun.
you're getting the
Because
sun.
the morning sun is important for aerating the house and bringing in the light. Because you
Heating.
know that also helps with hygiene.
Yes,
and all
mold.
of that. Yes, and the keeping down. So all of those things have to be considered in the design of the house.
Okay. Okay, so we're talking about considering those points are so important, and we could delve in so much more into that. But now we're going to talk about, so basically you mentioned just quickly the wind, the direction of the wind, the sun, the terrain, the rain, and you build your house based on this. So then, are you telling me that you're supposed to buy a property, you'd advise people buy a property and don't build immediately? Go on the property.
You should spend at least a few days there. Wind time, rain time, nights, all of that.
Know about, or at least have somebody who is knowledgeable about that property already.
Who can go with you and give you that information. Look at it, see what is happening.
And you also have to bear in mind that apart from rain and wind coming in, runoff. So if you have lots of rain, you don't want to build so that the water is running into where you are.
Yes.
So you want to protect yourself as much as possible.
Right.
So arm yourself with knowledge then.
Right.
You know, in terms of planning ahead.
Or get people like you who understand and come and assess the place for them.
But this is an opportunity.
done that.
This is an opportunity for
That's something
persons
that we have done
to arm
before.
themselves with that knowledge. And then based on that now, so yes, you know, you're doing a roof or so on, then based on the direction of the wind, what we did was we figured out where the wind was coming from, and when we positioned the house, that side to the wind, it's flush. There's no eave.
For it
no
to lift
overhang
up.
for the wind to come under.
To lift up,
So that side
okay.
is flush with the facial capping and so
That
on.
is
So that's the protection.
That is also our strongest side. That side, he said, had to have the traditional cement blocks with mortar.
So it could withstand whatever
Yes,
weather that
that's coming.
comes.
And we've gone through burial and all the winds and rains, and we're fine. Even though we
Well, Raphael.
hybrid house.
Right, right. Not the traditional housing necessarily. Okay, we're going to start now and speak about the different types or options that people have in this modern day and age. What would you say would be the first one?
Even before we look into options, the biggest problem is the budget.
Okay.
The biggest problem is the budget because cash is not so readily available. Yes, for some people, but not for everybody. And I would say the minimum you could look at right now to get into a place you can call your home in the country is 1.5 million.
Where you gonna get that, Sister Marvin?
Yes, we could do that.
You could do that.
We could do that. But then again, you have to remember your mindset because maybe you're thinking about a traditional place and I'm not talking about the traditional building. So then we go into the container type house. Yes, I was very happy the other day when I heard about there's a company in Kingston. I don't remember their name. That is
Leave the wasp alone, it's fine.
you can get a 20-foot 8x20 container. There's a fitted, you can actually put it on your land and you can get into that. And that was at a cost of
600,000.
So you heard about it.
Yes, I saw it.
So that is an option for some people. So that's
What we'll try to do is I'll try and find the company and link it.
Right.
Put it.
So
But bear in mind that that is not just the cost, because based on the dimensions, you'd have to prepare the slab to receive the container.
Meaning the base, the foundation.
The pillars, at the very least, pillars on which to put it, or a foundation for it to come and be placed on. In addition to that, that means that you'd have to have access, so road for them to bring that in, to actually place it on the slab for you. So
you'd have to hand the land and you have to prepare it to receive that.
And then a lot of persons not factoring those things in, because generally when you have a container like that, it means that it would come with pre-fitted, perhaps with bathroom fittings and pipes.
Plumbing.
Plumbing. So then you'd have to have the septic or the pit to receive it when it comes. So you have to bear all of those things in mind. But one of the things that I find interesting is that, again, back to the prepping and the planning, is that you have to think of your dimensions. So there are ways to, if you're going to build or if you're going to do a container, for example, if it's something that you can get customized, then what you have to think of is, how do I maximize the area with the same amount of material?
Right.
So a lot of persons are not realizing that you have a rectangular shape, we're accustomed to rectangular shape houses, But if you made it into a square, you actually get more space for the same amount of material.
Square
Okay.
space.
A square footprint.
Yes.
What do I mean? So let us say you had enough material to make like, let's say 100 meters, for example, of walling or material to put on the outskirts. You could make several different dimensions in terms of rectangles. So you could go 10, 10 properties of rectangle, opposite sides are equal. That would leave you with 80, so 40, 40. So, but area, length by width, that's 400 square meters.
Right.
Same material, adjust it now, you go 20 by 30, for example. So 20, 20, that's 40, 30, 30, that's 60, that's still 100 in terms of
Right.
per meter. But your area is now 600. Same amount of material, but your area is now 600 square meters. And you go a further step, and if you go 25 by 25, which is a square, you are now at 625 square meters.
With the same amount of
the same amount of material.
But bigger space.
But bigger space. So sometimes you're limited based on the land size and so on and what you want to do. But we're saying to people, think outside the box. And there's a further
or inside the square.
well, there's a further one too, which is that you could make it circular, and then your space begins to climb astronomically with the same amount of material.
So speaking of circular, you're gonna bring me now to a design. What design would you look at really circular?
Well, there's a design. Well, go ahead.
Yurt.
Yes.
Yes.
The what?
Yurt. Y-U-R-T.
Yes.
People can research that. I don't like it per se because the walls are made out of canvas maybe or other types of material. So it's not wood, it's not blocks, it's not zinc.
Right.
My favorite is zinc.
Okay.
So it's more cloth type
Right.
or plastic infused in that. But my husband is saying that the shape of the earth, if you have a limited amount of material that you have to
You can use the
more,
shape,
and
but
it's
not necessarily
stronger.
the material
Right.
that they use for the yurt.
Because
Okay.
there are some,
Because you could be a zinc yurt. Then you can talk to me.
right.
Okay.
There are some channels on YouTube where they actually show you how they make same design, same concept of the earth, but using plyboard.
Right.
So they just set up everything and then just come fit up
That's
quickly,
right.
prepare the base as usual, and then in a quick time. But the strength of the circle is an added advantage. So we're saying to people, think outside the box. Don't just be limited to a particular thing. Again, you can combine, as I said, boxes and circles, ultimately to make the space best for you as much as possible.
Right.
So let's go now to materials that you use for the outside of your house, because even though you're talking about the budget, how much you have, so that will determine the size going towards the shape.
Okay.
Let's talk about the materials, because you don't have to be traditional. If you don't have the money right away to do the traditional cement blocks and steel that we're accustomed to, when I go to Westmoreland, I see the houses made out of boards, materials.
Right.
You have your shape, you have the limited budget that you have. There are a variety of building materials that you can use.
Right.
So what we traditionally use in Jamaica is the cement block with steel. But when I go to Westmoreland, they have board houses that
Right.
can be moved.
Right.
I like those. I wanted one of those.
And for those persons who have traveled, like we have a lot of Jamaicans in Cayman and so on, they use the track and stud, but usually that is for internal partitions.
Right.
So that's an option as well. Then you also have
Cement board.
Cement board.
Cement board, okay.
Yeah,
Plyboard.
plyboard, cement board.
Zinc.
Yeah, if people want to use the plyboard, because that is something that a lot of persons would have been accustomed to for board houses back in the
Right.
days, they would have done what is called a sand dash. So the paint and sand are mixed together and applied on the outside to give that waterproof texture.
Right.
As well as fireproofing.
Right.
Okay.
So you have a number of options to think about. Then one of the things that we came across was, apart from your regular 2x4 treated lumber and 4x4, so sometimes depending on availability, those tend to be a little pricey.
Right.
But interestingly, we came across fence posts, treated fence posts,
Ah.
which were
Similar
size to a 4x4, maybe just a little bit off.
And they use that for the
And
house?
then you could actually use that as your uprights,
That's a
like for your
fence
shed
post.
and so on.
Oh,
That's
understood.
right.
You're right.
That's a 4x4 and that's a fence post beside it.
The fence
Right.
post is on the here one and the
Here
other.
one.
Okay, 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 yes,
One
yes, yes.
costs thousands and thousands of dollars.
Which is the 4x4.
The 4x4
Right.
and the fence post was like $1,500.
Okay.
And it's 8 foot tall.
Okay.
So it already comes in the shape and size that you want it.
That
so,
you want.
So some, and again, we say to persons, know where it is that you're going to be building and look at the options that are available close
Right.
to you.
And one option is people call them the father house, where you get a food for the poor house, you prepare
Okay.
the slab, and they come. I have seen one room, and
So
I've
it's a
seen
food for the poor type house.
food for the poor type of
Right.
house, where the ones I know of, because I had a lady who had one on my parents' property that I used to live, so I saw that entire process. You had to prepare the slab. They gave you the dimensions, so she got meant to do that, and then they came with it was siding and all the uprights and the zinc, and in 2 days that house was complete, and it was 3 rooms, and it had a veranda, 2 bedrooms, a general area, and a little water closet that you could put a toilet in and a shower.
Okay.
Yes.
So there are options for those persons who live close to where they have like old train lines, and so sometimes they have what's called Paulines, those treated nice big like 8x8 pieces of rubber.
That they use for the train
They use for
line.
the train lines. So I've seen people use those. Sometimes people get them when they're changing them out, they buy them, and because they're treated and so, those aren't going to get bad anytime soon. So people use them for fencing, but again, you have options in terms of using them as uprights and so on.
Okay.
So we looked at the
Container type house.
container type.
We looked at the
right.
food for the poor type house. We look at the yurt.
Right. And actually the food for the poor type house is also a tiny house.
You could say it's a
Right.
tiny house.
It's a tiny house.
But
Right.
talk more about that
Yeah,
tiny house.
But one of the things too, as we get into the tiny house, one of the things too that it's gaining traction internationally, worldwide, and they use a lot of it in some of the states in the US, what we call earth chips.
Okay.
The persons are looking to recycle. So rather than just having us contribute to the waste pollution, they use tires, old car tires, and use those as like your building blocks. So they put steel in it. They either put a combination of concrete or soil.
I'm having to see your face.
Yeah, because even though I love the earthship idea, I don't think it's practical for us here.
Oh.
One of the main reasons for them using it
Labor
because it's very labor intensive. They have the winters and the snow, so that technology is perfect for that.
We might be getting
Your claims are gonna get snow one day here so in Jamaica. But what I love best about that was that you could have a space. There's a space in the front of the house where you can plant your food. So it's all
Being
inside,
made in
right.
such a way.
But I think for us here in Jamaica, that would be very expensive because just the glass alone and the intensity of the labor for that. So even though we love the earthship type, it's very dreamy.
Not
I don't think it's
practical.
practical because as I was talking about, the budget that we're looking at right now is the 1.5 million to get you into something so you can be on your property and then you can expand.
Okay.
Because that's what we did when we came here. We had $3 million
Right.
cash in hand
Right.
to build, and there were 6 of us living together. So we had to consider what are we going to do with that.
$3 million is not nothing. That's just the truth.
No, but the reason why we were
To buy material and to pay for labor.
The $3 million was for everything. We had the land and $3 million.
Right.
How were we going to get it? So I told my husband, listen, let's build a shed.
Right.
And we'll go live in the shed because luckily it was me and him and 4 boys.
Right.
So all the boys can go together.
Right.
Right, and just me and him together. But God was good to us, and we got help from our church members. So labor, we didn't pay the full cost
Of labor.
for labor. Also, we put in a lot of the labor. There were nights I was over here at 10 o'clock with the phone light so that he and the gentleman doing the roof could see what they were doing. So we hired the plumber this day we started digging out the foundation because it's very important that your septic goes in. Because if nothing else, you need your septic when you do that. If you're building one room or if you're building 3 rooms, you need your septic.
Right.
Right. So that's what we did. So the intention was to just build a shed, and he did a, what's the dimension?
Well, it's
12
by 30.
12 by 30. And I was like, oh, this is so small, this is so small. But it wasn't really small when after the foundation and we put in. So we came up to window height.
So we're speaking about what type of housing now,
hybrid
Sister
now.
Marv?
All right, the original one was to just, because I thought the money would run out and we would not be able to finish the house. So I said, build a shed first. So the shed was a tiny house.
Right.
To go in. But that's not what happened for us, but that was the intention.
So you know what I see? I see the priest stepping into the water.
Yes, we did.
And the Lord providing and opening
and
ways.
He stretched it because
Jordan
it's so
move.
important. You need a contractor. If you don't know what you're doing, he was a contractor and I'm the financier. So I have the money and he has the know-how.
Okay, but even though he was a contractor, he knew where to stop and what was his limit and to say, call in this person.
And I made sure, right, that
teamwork.
Whenever we went to the hardware and he said he wanted this, I wanted that, and I looked at the cost, I said, why? You can't we do something else?
Different.
So when he explained that, no, we cannot skimp on this because this is structural and it deals with the integrity of the building, then I would say, okay, all right, I will pay the bill.
Okay.
So with that. So you need, if you're not knowledgeable, you need somebody who is knowledgeable because you don't want to spend your money and then your building collapses.
You're regretting.
And you regret.
Right.
Part of that process too is again forward thinking. Back to the original conversation. Think about what you're going to do. The scripture says, who builds a house without counting the cost?
Right.
So you have to think in advance.
Have to plan.
Right. So part of our thought process was, normally you're building a house, you build a shed. But then what happens at the end of the process?
You tear down the
shed. The shed goes to waste and then you probably have the materials sitting around and scrap. So we decided, listen, we're going to do a shed. The shed is going to last. So the shed was factored into the layout of the house that we're going to build.
Right.
And it also was a compromise because that was my dream house to have the board. Yes, because I didn't want a traditional.
Right. So you got your board, but eventually got transformed into something
No, he
else.
said no board. So I got zinc.
Okay.
I was
right.
but the board structure, the integrity, the walls are all treated lumber, 4x4, 2x4s, and so on, 2x6s. But here's the thing. We did it the way that I suppose a lot of persons would see them building houses in the US. You do the foundation up to the window height, then you put on your wall plates and so on. And all through that, your steel coming up from the foundation would lock on the wall plates. So it adds to the structural integrity of it. Hurricane straps and so on. Also, one of the things that a lot of persons need to look out for, so even if you're not the one building it, you need to look out for these corners that sometimes people take in terms of trying to shave off stuff.
Hey.
When you're joining board, especially lumber that is going to hold roof, it shouldn't be joined like this. It should generally have a notch, so that way one sits on,
into
so the load is able to transfer. There are some persons who will put the cross piece.
You want me to show an example of that? So for example, see it here.
Yes, that's the notch there.
Make sure you can see it. So that's the notch.
So you have to safeguard the integrity of the structure, because remember, you again, we put ourselves in God's hands, but at the same time, He gives us common sense to use it. So we have to try as best as possible. So that's what we did with that shed. We put in all the safety protocols and so on. But here's the thing now, that added to it. The shed was being built on the, where you understand now, the side away from the wind.
Right.
So then the rest of the structure now that would be more cement, more standard,
all of
would be
stronger
in front of it and towards the wind.
Right.
So one part is helping the other.
Right.
And then when we got done, the shed now that we used to store material was now
it's on the floor.
The kitchen, living room, dining room. So, and the ceilings were tall, so it kept the place airy and nice and comfortable.
Right.
I remember when we got finished Marva's brother came by and he thought it was a container
Right.
from afar. But when he came and realized, he recognized that, listen, we had done something with what we have. So yeah, so we use what we have and stretch the budget based on that. So when we got done now, then we build the rest of the structure in front of it, and so the two things complemented each other. And it turned out quite nice, comfy, and because of the sweat equity, that character building that goes into it. It's one thing to hire somebody. When you actually are a part of the process, it adds another layer, another dimension. So you're actually seeing how God is working things out. You're seeing how the thing works, and you're seeing how it's actually teaching you in a physical sense how to depend, how one thing depends on another. So you're using the spiritual application.
Good. So my takeaway from this is when you basically said, you know, you started with the shed, but you just started to see God work. You know the money just wouldn't make it. What is your advice to those who are in the city? What can they do? What can they do where they are even now? You were alluding to this earlier, Sister Margaret.
So I believe that everyone who is looking to the country should at this time have a tent in their possession.
And this is an example of a 2-person tent.
Actually, 4 people can.
4 people can sleep in this?
Yeah.
Wow.
This one. Yeah.
It's luxury.
You don't have to take it out.
Yeah, but what we did, you know, even before we started building, we were.
This is housing.
This is housing.
This is
not
housing
true.
right now.
Right. Sky comes.
So we started purchasing even some of the stuff even before we started.
Right.
So I remember Marva saying, "Here, I have some money. I'm going to buy a toilet." So we bought the toilet.
Yes.
We started to buy a couple
kitchen sink
windows.
was under the bed.
We bought the
windows.
sink.
Some windows were there.
Talk about the windows, Sister Margaret.
Oh, we went with.
I'm coming.
We didn't go with
custom
windows. We went with windows in the store.
standards.
Why?
Because it's so easy and so much cheaper. I didn't have to wait on anybody. I didn't have to quarrel with them. I just had my money, went into the store, got my windows, and so we just put them in. So much cheaper.
Yeah, so
much quicker.
So you know that for the bathroom you're going to need a 2x2. For kitchen
4x4, 3x3,
3x3,
4x6. It depends. You look
standard,
at what you want.
Standard sizes that you can just pick up off the shelf.
Right.
So go to the store, see the sizes, let them build the house in such a way where you just go and pick up the sizes. So you pay just what the window costs, nothing extra, nothing for customizing it.
You don't have to wait on people and quarrel, because sometimes you order your windows, you pay for it, and you can't get them when you want
Mercy,
them.
what a good advice.
Water storage too, containers. If you have to buy like storage drums and so, don't buy this extraordinary size where anything goes wrong with that one, you're out completely. So we went with like 680 gallon
instead of 1,000 or 2,000.
And that way, you know, you could actually have done it at manageable increments.
Exactly.
Yes,
So you could
go
buy
up,
and then add
increase
on
your storage.
as time goes on.
But it's important for you to plan where your water storage, if you're rain harvesting water, which we are here, we're not on the grid when it comes to water, where will your water storage be? And we also know how much we want it to be. We still have not reached the capacity because we want 10,000 gallons.
But you're
and
going
currently
there.
We are at close to 5.
Right.
We're going to do some addition this year, but we know exactly where the other should go because we planned before.
Right. Meaning location and stuff. And
so
you
nothing
also
can go in that area because we are still building this house.
Right. It's a process. You're not going to get there and be like, I'm
the
done.
garage is not complete. I don't know if it's going to be
ever. I get what you're saying.
And then of course what aids in terms of your, I suppose, your work day, lights. And so we found that solar lights were very, very important.
Because
you know, they're getting more affordable, more common now. So that's an option that persons need to look at in terms of.
We had to have that option because we lived here for 2 years without electricity.
That is it.
So we had to have that option. You cannot be afraid to step into the water, because if I was afraid of saying no light no over there, how am I going to manage? Maybe we wouldn't be here. No.
It goes back to the mindset.
Yes. So I told my husband, listen, build a shed, and we're going into the shed because we're coming out of the rent. We have the land, we're going there. We built the shed and the Lord provided we were able to build the 2 bedrooms and then move in. And then shortly after we added we turned
what I want to ask, you know, is what about those people who to close, what about those people who are struggling with the mindset? They want to go to the country, they don't see the money, they don't know where to go from here. We need some encouragement for those people.
Find someone that you know in the country, or your church is going on a camp. Get into that, use that as an opportunity to see what that is all about, to get away from the comforts, the creature comforts that you're accustomed to.
Right.
So whether you get, as Sister T said before, get a tent, so you can go on a camp with your church family,
Sleep
with some
outside.
sleep out, get into that mindset.
Just start.
Yes.
And then you will realize that, oh, this is fun. Listen, the first few times, I remember going to like Pathfinder camps when I was younger. And after the 3 or 4 days, because we used to camp close to like the beach side, you didn't want to leave because it was so relaxing. It took a little adjusting for the
So it's the adjustment period.
It's an adjustment period. So you have to condition yourself.
I would-
So even at home, what Marva did was she got some cushions and she decided, listen, we're going to sleep on the floor. So in the living room, we treat it
Yes.
like an in-house camp.
Yes.
Right.
So you're set up and you're getting yourself conditioned.
So even in the city you can do this.
Even in the city you can do that.
You were saying something, Sister Margaret?
You also need to do what you did. I think people need to do what you did. Your prayer was, Lord, send me a family that can help me. And I remember clearly, I was in the field with him one day, and it came to me to say, you are to help people to get into their dwelling in the country. And I said, Lord, send us 2 families.
So you
to help
were
to build."
already praying for people to...
Yes, I was asking the Lord to send us because having gone through this experience and being so happy,
So quick-
I wanted to help people.
Don't forget where you are. You know, when this video goes out, people are going to
No,
reach
but
out.
we are still available because
Good.
I dream of us setting up our vehicle and going to people's land and being there for 3 to 5 days, helping them,
That is it.
doing what they
That
should be
is
doing.
it.
I think that is our ministry. I'm
Okay.
very much convinced about it
I
because
know.
if it wasn't, I don't think the prayer would have been answered so
Amen.
eloquently.
Yeah.
Amen.
And so part of that mindset and that prayer as well is get to know the skills that are close to you.
Yes.
Because a lot of our brethren, a lot of our church family, a lot of our relatives have some skills sometimes we don't even know.
Right.
So if within your circle you know who can do what, then it goes a long way in preparing you and helping you to
helping.
transition.
Right.
As we got help from our church family.
That is it. So a community, all of these things that we have shared in the different types and the mindset. I think to top it off, it's the mindset
It's
for
the
me
mindset.
and the relationship with God. Thank you, guys. If all of these points could be fleshed out even more.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
each individual type of housing could be fleshed out. The mindset is a whole conversation by itself and the prayer. But start where you
And
are.
I think it's the mindset that is holding back a lot of us because some people are afraid of what others are going to say. So you sell a house and you're going to country, going to live in and want to zinc up something.
That's it.
You have to look at the end goal.
What is it? What is it?
What does the Lord require? What
Done.
has He said? Will you obey?
And
That is
the
it.
sad thing about it is, persons pay good money, travel from all over the world
To go to
come
an
here,
Airbnb.
to go to an Airbnb
enjoy
or
this.
Right.
or to come stay,
That you can have as a
or
luxury.
to come stay in a hut.
Right.
You know.
True.
But so we don't value what we have.
Exactly.
So it's a mindset. It's a mindset.
Thank you, guys.